Security cameras captured everything. A black man in worn sneakers enters Madison's luxury boutique. 15 minutes later, he's humiliated, live-streamed, and banned for life. 24 hours later, the store closes forever. The timestamp reads 2:47 p.m. when Elijah Vance pushes through glass doors on Rodeo Drive. His faded jeans and hoodie draw stares from silk-draped customers. Store manager Rebecca whispers urgently to security. Elijah approaches the watch counter. He's 34, deliberately dressed down today. His backpack hangs loose. Car keys jingle in his pocket. Sales associate Chloe Martinez ignores him, continuing to help an elderly white woman. Other shoppers pull out phones. Someone starts recording. Instagram story caption: drama brewing at Madison's. Have you ever walked into a space where you immediately knew you weren't welcome? Where your presence alone triggered whispers and assumptions? Elijah thought he was prepared for what happened next. He wasn't. This is one of those real-life stories that reveals how black stories of discrimination still unfold daily, creating touching stories that demand we examine our biases. Elijah checks his phone. The screen shows 2:48 p.m. He has exactly 12 minutes before his 3 p.m. appointment. This needs to be quick. The boutique sparkles under crystal chandeliers. Hermès scarves cascade from silk displays. A PC Philippe watch collection gleams behind reinforced glass. Price tags, reading numbers that could buy luxury cars. The air smells of expensive leather and subtle perfume. Elijah steps toward the watch display. His reflection catches in the polished glass as he examines a Philippe Nautilus model. The price tag shows $85,000. He pulls out his phone to check specifications, and something slips partially from his pocket. The edge of a first-class boarding pass to Tokyo. Departure gate visible. Chloe Martinez stands 3 FT away, helping the elderly white customer decide between pearl necklaces worth more than most people's annual salary. She glances at Elijah, notes his casual appearance, and deliberately turns her shoulder toward him. The message is clear. Elijah waits. He scrolls through his phone, and attentive observers might notice expensive car keys attached to his belt loop. A Bentley logo catches the light briefly. His backpack, while worn, bears a subtle Hermes leather tag that most wouldn't recognize. "Excuse me," Elijah says politely when Chloe finishes with her customer. Chloe doesn't turn around immediately. She organizes some jewelry pieces slowly, making Elijah wait. Finally, she pivots toward him with crossed arms and raised eyebrows. "Yes." Her tone carries the weight of a sigh. "I'd like to look at that PC Philippe, please." Elijah points to the watch he's been studying. Chloe's expression shifts from bored to incredulous. She actually laughs, a short, sharp sound that draws attention from nearby customers. "Sir, that's not really in your price range. Maybe try the mall down the street." Her words hang in the perfumed air. Other customers turned to watch. Someone quietly pulls out their phone to record. Elijah maintained his calm demeanor. "I understand the price. I'd still like to see it." Chloe exchanges a look with another sales associate across the floor. The second woman shakes her head slightly and returns to helping a well-dressed couple examine diamond earrings. "Those watches start at $85,000, Chloe says slowly, as if explaining to a child. "Do you understand what that means?" "I understand numbers quite well," Elijah replies evenly. His phone buzzes. The screen shows a text message from someone labeled board meeting with the message moved to 3:15. Still in conference room B, Elijah quickly silences the phone, but the partial message was visible to anyone watching closely. Chloe notices his expensive phone case, carbon fiber with what appears to be a company logo. She frowns slightly, uncertainty creeping into her expression for the first time, but she's committed to her assumption now. Sir, I really think you'd be more comfortable looking at our vintage collection. We have some nice watches under 5,000. I'm interested in the PC Philippe, Elijah repeats. Security guard David Ortiz has been watching from his position near the entrance. He's a former police officer trained to read situations and people. Something about this interaction makes him uncomfortable, but he can't quite identify what. The black customer seems calm, polite even. But Chloe's body language suggests trouble brewing. Elijah checks his phone again. 2:51 p.m., 9 minutes left. A teenage customer near the handbag display starts live streaming on TikTok. Her username is Beverly Hills Insider, and she has a modest following of Beverly Hills gossip enthusiasts. Something's happening at Madison's. She whispers to her phone. This is getting weird. The live stream shows 47 viewers initially, but the number climbs as viewers share with friends. Chloe's supervisor, Rebecca, notices the growing attention from her position behind the main counter. She's been managing high-end retail for 15 years, and she knows when a situation might escalate. Customer complaints, especially those involving accusations of discrimination, can destroy a store's reputation overnight. Rebecca approaches with practiced professionalism, her heels clicking against marble floors. Is everything all right here? Rebecca's voice carries authority mixed with concern. Chloe immediately launches into explanation. This gentleman is asking about the Fipe collection, but I explain our pricing structure. Then Elijah turns to Rebecca. I'd like to purchase a watch as an anniversary gift. I was hoping to see the Nautilus model. Rebecca's eyes quickly assess Elijah's appearance. Worn jeans, basic hoodie, scuffed sneakers. She notes the backpack, the casual presentation. But she also notices something Chloe missed. His posture, the way he carries himself, the quality of his watch despite his casual clothes. Of course, sir, we'd be happy to show you our collection. However, I should mention that piece requires a significant deposit just to handle. How significant? Elijah asks. $25,000. The live stream viewer count hits 200. Comments start flowing. This is uncomfortable. Why can't he just look? Store seems sketchy. Elijah nods thoughtfully. That's reasonable for a piece of that value. Rebecca blinks. She expected him to retreat at the deposit requirement. Instead, he's treating it like a normal business transaction. You have that amount readily available? Rebecca asks. Would you prefer cash or wire transfer? Elijah responds. The question hangs in the air. Rebecca realizes she may have misjudged the situation, but she's also committed to supporting her employees' initial assessment, and there's something about Elijah's confidence that unsettles her. His phone buzzes again. This time, the caller ID shows private equity partners. Elijah declines the call, but not before Rebecca glimpses the label. The tension in the store is palpable now. Other customers sense drama brewing. The TikTok live stream reaches 847 viewers. Someone starts an Instagram story with the caption, Beverly Hills Boutique Drama Unfolding. Elijah checks his watch, 2:54 p.m., 6 minutes remaining. So, he says calmly, May I see the watch? Rebecca stares at Elijah for a long moment. Her 15 years in luxury retail have taught her to read customers quickly. The wealthy don't always dress the part. Tech billionaires wear hoodies, oil heiresses shop in yoga pants. But something about this situation feels off. I'll need to see identification and a credit card before we handle inventory of that value, Rebecca says finally. Elijah reaches for his wallet. As he opens it, observant viewers of the live stream might notice it's not a typical wallet. It's a slim leather case that appears custom-made. He pulls out a black credit card, the kind with no spending limit, and sets it on the glass counter. Chloe picks up the card. Her expression changes slightly as she reads the name Elijah V. Vance. The card is heavier than normal credit cards, made of metal with subtle embossing. "I'll need to verify this," Chloe says, though her tone has lost some of its earlier condescension. "Of course," Elijah replies, checking his phone again. 2:55 p.m., 5 minutes left. While Chloe processes the card at Beverly Hills Insider's TikTok live stream has exploded to 2,400 viewers, the comments section fills rapidly. Something big is about to happen. Why are they treating him like this? Plot twist incoming. This store has issues. Other customers in the boutique sense the tension. A well-dressed woman near the handbag display pulls out her phone to record. An elderly man shopping for his wife stops browsing to watch. The store has become a theater, and everyone knows drama is building. Rebecca's phone buzzes. She glances at it and sees a notification from the store's corporate oversight system. Unusual transaction activity detected. Large transactions trigger automatic monitoring for security purposes. Elijah stands calmly, hands clasped behind his back, studying the watch display. His demeanor remains professional, almost meditative. But there's something in his posture that suggests coiled energy, like a panther waiting. Chloe returns from the card verification terminal, her face pale. "Sir, there seems to be an issue with payment processing." "What kind of issue?" Elijah asks evenly. The system flagged this as requiring additional verification. Elijah nods. "That happens with large transactions. Would you like me to call my bank?" Rebecca intervenes. "Sir, perhaps we could schedule an appointment for later this week. Our security protocols require. I have 5 minutes." Elijah interrupts gently. "Then I need to leave for another appointment." The timestamp on the TikTok stream shows 2:56 p.m. Viewer count hits 4,200. The Beverly Hills luxury retail drama is going viral in real time. David Ortiz, the security guard, steps closer. His police instincts are firing warnings, but he can't identify the source. The black customer hasn't raised his voice, hasn't made threats, hasn't acted inappropriately. Yet, something about this situation screams danger. "Ma'am," David says quietly to Rebecca. "Maybe we should, sir." Rebecca addresses Elijah directly, cutting off David's suggestion. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You're making our other customers uncomfortable." Elijah looks around the store. The other customers are indeed watching, but their expressions range from curious to sympathetic. Several appear uncomfortable with how Elijah is being treated, not with Elijah himself. "What specifically have I done to make anyone uncomfortable?" Elijah asks. Rebecca's jaw tightens. She's committed now, and backing down would mean admitting error. "You're being disruptive to our normal business operations, by asking to see merchandise, by persisting when we've explained our policies." Elijah checks his phone. 2:57 p.m. 3 minutes. A new voice enters the conversation. "Excuse me, but this is ridiculous." A young woman customer, probably mid-20s, steps forward. He hasn't done anything wrong. Why can't he just look at a watch? Rebecca spins toward the woman. "Ma'am, please don't interfere with store security matters." "Security matters?" The woman laughs incredulously. "He asked to see a watch." Other customers murmur agreement. The tide of public opinion is shifting, but Rebecca feels trapped by her initial response. Admitting mistake now would be career suicide. David receives a signal from Rebecca. The subtle hand gesture they use to indicate when police should be called. But David hesitates. His training tells him this situation doesn't warrant police intervention, yet his supervisor is clearly escalating. The TikTok live stream reaches 6,800 viewers. Comments flood faster than anyone can read. "Call the manager. This is discrimination. Someone record everything. Where's the owner? This is about to explode." Elijah pulls out his phone and checks the time. 2:58 p.m. 2 minutes remaining. "I need to leave in 2 minutes," he says calmly. "Are you going to show me the watch, or should I take my business elsewhere?" Rebecca's face flushes. Sir, I'm asking you nicely to leave. Don't make this difficult. I'm not making anything difficult. I'm asking to see merchandise in a store that's open to the public. Security! Rebecca calls out. David Ortiz approaches reluctantly. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises. Elijah looks at David directly. On what grounds? David struggles with the answer. You're causing a disturbance. How am I causing a disturbance? The live stream viewer count explodes to 8,900. Someone has cross-hosted to Instagram where it's being shared rapidly. The hashtag Madison's Karma starts appearing in comments. 2:59 p.m. Elijah looks at his watch, not the cheap digital one on his wrist, but an expensive timepiece that finally catches Rebecca's attention. It's a Vacheron Constantine worth more than most people's cars. A minute, Elijah says quietly. A minute until what? Rebecca demands. Elijah doesn't answer. He opens his phone and sends a quick text. Ready for 3 p.m. meeting. See you upstairs. Rebecca frowns. Upstairs, sir. There's nothing upstairs except 3:01 p.m. Elijah looks directly at Rebecca. My appointment time. Thank you for the customer service demonstration. It was very educational. He turns toward the door, then pauses. Oh, and Rebecca, you might want to check your corporate email in the next few minutes. I believe you have a meeting. Rebecca's phone immediately begins buzzing with notifications. Her face goes white as she reads the first message. Subject line, Emergency Board Meeting Conference Room B3 do p.m. A re-incident review. The TikTok live stream hits 12,000 viewers as Elijah walks calmly toward the exit. Wait, Rebecca calls out. But Elijah is already pushing through the glass doors. The store falls silent, except for the sound of phones buzzing with notifications and the quiet murmur of live stream viewers realizing they've just witnessed something extraordinary. Chloe stares at the black credit card still sitting on the counter, finally understanding that she may have made the biggest mistake of her career. Outside, Elijah Vance checks his watch one final time and heads toward the elevator that leads to the corporate offices above Madison's luxury boutique. The real meeting is about to begin. The elevator doors close behind Elijah with a soft chime. Security cameras in the lobby capture him pressing the button for the executive floor, a level most Madison's employees have never seen. The timestamp reads 3:01 p.m. Downstairs, chaos erupts in slow motion. Rebecca stares at her phone screen, reading and rereading the email that makes no sense. Emergency board meeting, conference room B, 3:00 p.m. PMR, the sender's name makes her stomach drop. Elijah Vance, CEO Vance Capital Group versus torn, unhap agent. That's impossible, she whispers. Chloe Martinez frantically types Elijah Vance, CEO, into Google on her phone. The first result loads Forbes article from 6 months ago. The headline reads, Tech mogul Elijah Vance expands retail portfolio. $2.3 billion investment firm targets luxury market. The photo shows the same man who just walked out of their store. Hands shake as she scrolls through the article. Vance Capital Group acquired controlling interests in 17 luxury retail properties across Beverly Hills and Manhattan this quarter. Rebecca Chloe's voice cracks. Rebecca, you need to see this. But Rebecca is already running toward the back office, her heels clicking frantically against marble floors. She needs to access the corporate directory, confirm this nightmare isn't real. The TikTok live stream, still running at 14,500 viewers, captures Chloe's horrified realization. At Beverly Hills, Insider zooms in on Chloe's phone screen, sharing the Forbes article with thousands of viewers in real time. Comments explode. No way. Plot twist of the century. She's so fired. Oh my God, he's the owner. Karma is real. David Ortiz watches the growing panic with professional concern. He's seen enough corporate disasters in his security career to recognize when everything is falling apart. What's happening? he asks Chloe. Chloe shows him the Google results with trembling hands. The man we just kicked out, he's the CEO of Vance Capital Group. They own our building lease. David's face goes pale. They own our what? Meanwhile, 3 floors above, Elijah Vance enters conference room B. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook Rodeo Drive. He can see the Madison storefront below where a small crowd has gathered outside, phones pressed against the glass, trying to catch glimpses of the drama inside. Elijah sets his backpack on the polished conference table and pulls out a laptop. The worn exterior of the bag contrasts sharply with the high-end technology inside. He opens a secure video conference application. At exactly 3:03 p.m., 3 screens activate around the room. Elijah. A woman's voice comes through the speakers. I've been watching the live stream. Remarkable customer service demonstration. Elijah smiles slightly. Grace, I think we have everything we need for the legal review. Grace Chen, Vance Capital Group's chief legal counsel, appears on the center screen. 47,000 viewers and counting. The footage is quite comprehensive. On the second screen, Samuel Park, director of retail operations, shakes his head. In 30 years of retail management, I've never seen anything quite that blatant. The third screen shows Arthur Madison himself, the boutique's founder, calling in from his yacht off the coast of Monaco. His tanned face shows bewilderment and growing alarm. Elijah, I don't understand. Why didn't you identify yourself? This could have been avoided. Could it, Arthur? Elijah opens his laptop and begins typing. Let's review some data. The main screen fills with a presentation titled Madison's Boutique Customer Service Analysis Undercover Assessment. The insight over the past 6 months, my firm has conducted systematic evaluations of all properties in our retail portfolio. Madison's was scheduled for this assessment today. Elijah clicks to the next slide. Charts and graphs fill the screen. Customer satisfaction surveys show concerning patterns. Complaints about discriminatory treatment have increased 340% over the past year. Specifically, customers of color report negative experiences at rates 87% higher than white customers. Arthur Madison's face tightens. Elijah, those are just isolated incidents. Are they? Elijah advances to the next slide. Security footage analysis from the past 3 months reveals 23 documented instances of differential treatment based on customer appearance. Today's incident makes 24. Grace Chen leans forward on her screen. Elijah, show them the legal implications. The presentation shifts to a legal summary. California Civil Code Section 51.7 prohibits discrimination in business establishments. Federal penalties under the Civil Rights Act can reach $150,000 per incident. With 24 documented cases, we're looking at potential liability exceeding $3,600,000. Arthur Madison's yacht-tanned face goes white. This can't be accurate. It's very accurate, Arthur. Every incident was recorded by your own security systems. Plus, today's performance was live-streamed to over 50,000 viewers and counting. Samuel Park adds, Elijah, what about the lease implications? Elijah nods. Excellent question, Samuel. He clicks to another slide. Section 14.3 of the Madison's lease agreement states that discriminatory practices constitute grounds for immediate lease termination. He pauses for effect. Vance Capital Group acquired this building yesterday. The purchase was finalized at 5 p.m., making us your new landlord as of this morning. The silence in the conference room is deafening. Even through the video screens, the shock is palpable. Yesterday, Arthur Madison's voice is barely a whisper. Yesterday, which means today's incident occurred on property we own by employees whose actions we're now legally responsible for. Grace Chen's screen updates with additional documents. The liability extends beyond lease violations. We're now looking at potential civil rights lawsuits, insurance claims, and reputational damage that could affect the entire Vance Capital Group portfolio. Elijah stands and walks to the window. Below, he can see Rebecca pacing in the boutique, her phone pressed to her ear. The crowd outside has grown larger. The live stream has been shared 12,000 times in the past 10 minutes. Samuel Park reports it's trending on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Madison's karma is the #3 trending hashtag in Los Angeles. Elijah turns back to the cameras. Arthur, your annual rent is $100,000. Your profit margin last year was 23%. Your insurance carrier will likely increase premiums by 300 to 40% when they review this footage. Legal defense costs alone will exceed $500,000. He clicks to the final slide of his presentation. This brings us to today's decision point. The slide shows 3 options. Option 1, immediate lease termination. Store close in 30 days. Option 2, legal action proceeds. 2-year court battle public records. Option 3, comprehensive reform with public accountability. Scott and Sema were in Lisa. What's option 3? Arthur Madison asks quietly. Elijah returns to his seat. Complete operational overhaul, new management, mandatory bias training, diversity metrics monitoring, public reporting, and a $100,000 donation to civil rights organizations. And if we choose option 3, the lease continues. The legal action is suspended pending compliance. And maybe we prevent this from happening to anyone else. Grace Chen adds, but Arthur, understand that choosing option 3 means admitting systemic problems and accepting ongoing oversight. It's not just about money. Elijah checks his watch. It's 3:12 p.m. Your store manager is currently Googling how to file for unemployment. Your sales associate is crying in the bathroom. Your security guard is updating his resume. He looked directly at Arthur Madison's screen. The question isn't whether you can afford option 3. The question is whether you can afford not to choose it. Outside the TikTok live stream has reached 89,000 viewers. News outlets are starting to pick up the story. Someone has created a Wikipedia page for Madison's boutique discrimination incident. Elijah opened his phone and shows the screens. Oh, and Arthur TMZ just called. They want a statement about the luxury store racist meltdown video. Arthur Madison closes his eyes. When he opens them, his voice is different, smaller, defeated. What exactly does option 3 require? Elijah Vance smiles for the first time since entering the store. I'm glad you asked. Elijah Vance opens a new presentation file. The conference room screens display a detailed breakdown titled Madison's Boutique Comprehensive Reform Protocol. Option 3 isn't a suggestion, Arthur. It's a carefully designed system that addresses every aspect of what went wrong today. Grace Chen pulls up legal documents on her screen. Before we discuss terms, everyone needs to understand the current liability exposure. She displays a federal compliance chart under 42 U.S.C. Section 1981, which prohibits racial discrimination in contractual relationships. Damages can include compensatory and punitive awards. Recent cases in California have averaged $275,000 per incident. Samuel Park adds financial context. Elijah, show them the revenue impact analysis. Elijah clicks to a detailed financial breakdown. Madison's boutique generates $9,100,000 annually. However, demographic analysis shows you're only capturing 34% of potential market share in Beverly Hills. The data is stark. Customer demographics are 89% white, 4% Asian, 3% Hispanic, 4% Black, and other. Beverly Hills area demographics show a much more diverse population with significantly higher spending power. You're leaving $4,200,000 in annual revenue on the table due to reputation issues in communities of color. Elijah continues. Arthur Madison's image flickers as his yacht's internet connection struggles. Those numbers can't be accurate. They're from your own POSOS system data, Arthur, cross-referenced with census data and consumer spending reports from the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. Samuel Park displays additional charts, Yelp reviews, Google ratings, and social media sentiment analysis all show declining scores over 18 months. Today's incident has accelerated that decline exponentially. Elijah stands and walks to the window again. The crowd outside Madison's has grown to approximately 50 people. Local news vans are arriving. In the past 20 minutes, your online ratings have dropped from 4.22 stars to 2.1 stars across all platforms. The hashtag Madison's Karma has been shared 47,000 times. Grace Chen interrupts. Arthur, I need to inform you that we've received preliminary contact from 3 civil rights organizations. They're considering formal complaints with the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing. 3 organizations? Arthur's voice cracks. NAACP Legal Defense Fund, ACLU of Southern California, and the Anti-Defamation League. The video evidence makes their case very strong. Elijah returns to his seat. This brings us back to option 3, complete structural reform. He advances to the detailed requirements slide. Immediate actions. 30 days. Terminate Rebecca, store manager. Suspend Chloe Martinez, sales associate. Pending training completion. Implement bias incident reporting system. Hire diversity and inclusion consultant. Install customer feedback monitoring technology. Medium-term changes 90 days. Structure hiring practices with diverse interview panels. Mandatory 40-hour bias training for all staff. Establish community advisory board. Create anonymous customer feedback system. Implement performance metrics tied to inclusive service. Long-term accountability, 12 months. Quarterly diversity reporting to Vance Capital Group. Annual civil rights compliance audit. $100,000 donation to NAACP Legal Defense Fund. Establishment of $50,000 annual diversity scholarship. Public dashboard showing inclusion metrics. Arthur Madison studies the requirements. The financial cost alone is enormous. Elijah nods. The donation and scholarship total $150,000. Training and consulting will cost approximately $75,000. Technology implementation adds another $50,000, $275,000 in the first year, Arthur calculates, compared to $3,600,000 in potential federal penalties, Grace Chen notes, plus legal defense costs, insurance increases, and lost revenue. Samuel Park displays comparative data. Arthur, stores in our portfolio that implemented similar reforms saw average revenue increases of 28% within 18 months. Elijah opens his laptop again. Let me show you what success looks like. The presentation shifts to case studies. Vance Capital Group reformed 3 similar properties over the past 2 years. Customer satisfaction increased by an average of 67%. Revenue grew 31%. Staff turnover decreased 45%. He clicks to specific examples. Prestige Jewelry in Manhattan saw their most profitable quarter ever after implementing inclusive service training. Luxury Leather in Chicago expanded their customer base by 89% within 1 year. Arthur Madison's resistance is clearly weakening. What about oversight? How do we know when we've met your standards? Excellent question. Elijah displays a monitoring framework, independent third-party audits every 6 months, customer satisfaction surveys with demographic breakdown analysis, mystery shopper evaluations across all demographic groups. Grace Chen adds the legal framework. Compliance is measured against specific metrics, customer complaints below 0.5% monthly demographic representation in customer base within 15% of area demographics staff, completion of bias training with passing scores, and if we fail to meet these standards, Arthur asks the lease contains performance clauses. Elijah explains, first violation triggers a $50,000 cents penalty and accelerated oversight. Second violation results in lease termination with 60-day notice. Samuel Park shows the alternative. Arthur, option 1 means immediate closure. You lose $2,100,000 in annual revenue plus liquidation costs. Option 2 means 2 years of legal battles, public hearings, and media coverage. Elijah checks his phone. The live stream video has now been viewed 127,000 times. CNN just published an article titled, "Luxury Store Discrimination Caught on Camera Goes Viral." He shows his screen to the cameras. Entertainment. Tonight wants an exclusive interview. The Beverly Hills City Council has scheduled an emergency session about discrimination in luxury retail. Arthur Madison's shoulders sag. This is spiraling out of control. Yes, it is. Elijah agrees. But option 3 allows you to control the narrative. Instead of being the villain in a discrimination story, you become the reformed business leader who chose change over defensiveness. Grace Chen displays a public relations strategy. Voluntary compliance looks very different from forced compliance in the media. Proactive reform generates positive coverage. Elijah stands and begins pacing. Arthur, I didn't create this situation to destroy your business. I identified it to fix a systemic problem that's hurting your bottom line and our community. He pauses at the window. Look outside. Those people aren't holding protest signs. They're holding phones documenting history. The question is, what kind of history we write together? Samuel Park checks his tablet. Elijah, the mayor's office, just called. They want to discuss the incident, and the governor's civil rights task force has requested a briefing, Grace Chen adds. Elijah turns back to the cameras. Arthur, you have approximately 6 hours before this becomes a statewide political issue. After that, your options become much more limited. Arthur Madison closes his eyes for a long moment. When he opens them, his voice is barely audible. If I agree to option 3, what happens immediately? Elijah sits back down. We hold a joint press conference at 6 p.m. today. You announce voluntary implementation of comprehensive reforms. We frame this as leadership, not reaction, and the legal liability. Grace Chen answers, Vance Capital Group agrees to suspend civil action pending successful completion of the reform program. The clock starts fresh. The media coverage. Samuel Park responds, we control the message. This becomes a story about taking responsibility and choosing change. Elijah looks directly at Arthur Madison's screen. Arthur, I'm offering you a chance to be remembered as the business owner who chose to do the right thing when it mattered. Arthur Madison stares at the ceiling of his yacht cabin for 30 seconds. The only sound is the distant murmur of protesters outside and the hum of conference room technology. Finally, he looks back at the camera. What do I need to sign? At 3:47 p.m., digital signatures appear on compliance documents across 4 different screens. The Madison's Boutique Reform Agreement becomes legally binding with Arthur Madison's electronic consent from international waters. Grace, file this with the California Secretary of State immediately, Elijah instructs. Samuel, initiate the press release protocol. Within minutes, the consequences begin cascading through the boutique below. Rebecca receives the termination notice via corporate email at 3:52 p.m. The message is brief and legally precise. Effective immediately, your employment with Madison's Boutique is terminated due to discriminatory customer service practices documented on June 30th, 2025. Final compensation will be processed per company policy, minus training costs incurred. Rebecca stares at her phone screen in the back office, surrounded by inventory boxes and the smell of expensive perfume. 15 years of retail management ended by 15 minutes of poor judgment. Chloe Martinez gets a different message. Mandatory suspension without paying completion of 40-hour bias awareness training program. Return to work contingent upon successful completion and probationary performance review. She reads it while sitting in the employee bathroom. Tears streaming down her face as the live stream comments she's been reading finally stop refreshing. The TikTok video has been viewed 189,000 times. David Ortiz receives yet another notification. Formal written warning for failure to de-escalate customer service incident. Mandatory 20-hour conflict resolution training required within 30 days. At 4:15 p.m., Dr. Evelyn Reed arrives at Madison's boutique. She's the diversity and inclusion consultant Vance Capital Group keeps on retainer, a former federal civil rights investigator with a PhD in organizational psychology. Dr. Reed's first action is installing temporary customer feedback tablets at every service station. The devices ask simple questions. Did you feel welcome today? Was service professional and respectful? Would you recommend this store to friends? By 4:30 p.m., the new technology reveals immediate data. Of 12 customers who shop during the afternoon, 8 rated their experience below average. Comments include, staff seemed distracted and worried, and atmosphere was tense. Meanwhile, Elijah Vance's legal team works with surgical precision. At 4:45 p.m., they file formal notifications with relevant civil rights organizations, explaining the voluntary compliance agreement and reform timeline. NADACP Legal Defense Fund receives a detailed report including the settlement terms, reform commitments, and monitoring protocols. The $100,000 donation will fund their economic justice initiative focusing on retail discrimination cases. The Anti-Defamation League gets copies of the bias training curriculum that will be implemented store-wide. The 40-hour program includes modules on unconscious bias, cultural competency, and inclusive custom R service practices. At 5:00 p.m. sharp, Elijah calls an emergency staff meeting in the boutique. 7 employees gather nervously among the crystal chandeliers and luxury displays. I'm Elijah Vance, CEO of Vance Capital Group, he begins. We now own this building and have significant concerns about today's customer service incident. The employees exchange glances. Everyone has seen the viral video by now. Effective immediately, we're implementing comprehensive reforms designed to ensure every customer receives respectful professional service regardless of appearance, race, or perceived economic status. Elijah explains the new protocols. Customer service standards will be monitored through mystery shopper evaluations every 2 weeks. Shoppers will represent diverse demographics and dress styles. Performance ratings directly impact employee evaluations and compensation. A community advisory board will review customer complaints and suggest improvements. The 7-member board includes representatives from Beverly Hills NYACP, local business associations, and community organizations. Anonymous reporting systems allow customers and employees to flag discriminatory behavior without fear of retaliation. Reports trigger automatic investigations within 24 hours. Training programs begin immediately. All staff must complete bias awareness education before returning to full duties. Passing scores of 85% or higher are required. Performance metrics now include inclusion measures. Customer satisfaction scores must meet diversity benchmarks. Employees receive bonuses for consistently high ratings across all demographic group. At 5:30 p.m., the first mystery shopper arrives. A young black woman in casual clothes carrying a worn backpack. She browses quietly, testing whether service has already improved. The remaining sales associate, Olivia Grant, Approaches immediately. Good evening. Welcome to Madison's. Is there anything specific I can help you find today? The interaction is recorded by discrete cameras for training analysis. Olivia's tone is professional, her body language open and welcoming. She spends 20 minutes showing various pieces without asking about budget or payment methods. The mystery shopper rates the experience 4.5 out of 5 stars. At 6 p.m., the joint press conference begins in the boutique's main showroom. Elijah Vance and Arthur Madison via video link address assembled media. Today's incident represents an unacceptable failure in customer service standards, Arthur Madison states from his yacht. I take full responsibility and have implemented immediate corrective measures. Elijah adds, Vance Capital Group is committed to ensuring luxury retail serves all customers with dignity and respect. These reforms will be monitored transparently and reported publicly. The press conference generates immediate positive coverage. Headlines read, Luxury store owner takes responsibility after viral discrimination video and tech CEO's undercover investigation leads to retail reform. By 7:00 p.m., the customer feedback tablets show measurably different results. Evening shoppers rate their experience an average of 4.22 stars, with comments like, staff was very attentive and felt welcomed and respected. The TikTok video continues viral spread, but now the story includes the resolution at Beverly Hills. Insider posts a follow-up mad update. Store owner just announced major changes after viral discrimination video. This is how you handle accountability. Within 30 days, independent auditors will verify compliance with all reform measures. Customer demographic data will be analyzed monthly. Staff performance reviews will include inclusion metrics alongside sales numbers for the $50,000 Cents annual scholarship program launches immediately, supporting students pursuing careers in business ethics and civil rights law. Recipients will be selected by the Community Advisory Board. A public dashboard goes live on Madison's website, displaying real-time customer satisfaction scores broken down by demographic categories. The transparency is unprecedented in luxury retail. Dr. Reed establishes weekly sensitivity training sessions. Role-playing exercises help staff recognize unconscious bias. Customer service scenarios include diverse situations and backgrounds. By month's end, Madison's boutique will look identical from the outside. Crystal chandeliers will still sparkle. Luxury goods will still gleam behind polished glass. But the invisible barriers that kept customers like Elijah Vance from feeling welcomed will be systematically dismantled. Elijah Vance chose reform over revenge. He used his position of power not to destroy, but to create sustainable change that would outlast any individual incident. The security cameras that captured everything on June 30th will continue recording, but now they document transformation instead of discrimination. 6 months later, Madison's boutique looks like a completely different business from the inside. Customer satisfaction ratings have climbed to 94%, up from 67% before the incident. The improvement crosses all demographic categories, with Black and Hispanic customers now rating their experience at 93%, nearly identical to white customers at 95%. The diversity metrics tell a remarkable story. Customer demographics now reflect Beverly Hills area population within 8%. 52% white, 23% Asian, 15% Hispanic, 10% Black, and other ethnicities. Revenue has increased 23% as the store successfully attracts the previously excluded market segments. Chloe Martinez completed her bias training and returned as an associate manager. Her customer service scores consistently rank in the top 10% across all demographics. She credits the training with opening her eyes to unconscious behaviors she never recognized. I learned that assumptions I thought were normal were actually barriers, she explains to new hires during training sessions. Now I approach every customer with curiosity instead of judgment. The Community Advisory Board meets monthly in Madison's back conference room. Board member Dr. Michelle Davis, a local NAACP chapter president, describes the transformation as proof that businesses can choose accountability over defensiveness. Elijah Vance has become a case study in Harvard Business School's ethics curriculum. His guest lecture, Dignity as Business Strategy, draws standing-room-owned crowds of MBA students eager to learn how social justice principles can drive profitable growth. The Madison's model has spread far beyond Beverly Hills. 47 luxury retailers across 12 states have voluntarily implemented similar accountability systems. The Madison's protocol is now recognized industry-wide as the gold standard for inclusive customer service. Vance Capital Group's retail portfolio has seen average revenue increases of 31% in stores that adopted comprehensive bias training. The business case for inclusion has proven itself through measurable financial returns. The viral TikTok video, now viewed over 3 million times, serves as training material in business schools and civil rights organizations. It demonstrates how one person's courage to document injustice can create systemic change. Elijah reflects on that June afternoon. They saw my clothes and made assumptions about my worth. I saw an opportunity to change an entire industry. That's the difference between reacting and responding. The security cameras that captured the original discrimination now document thousands of positive interactions. Customer testimonials praise the welcoming atmosphere and respectful service that defines Madison's new culture. Rebecca, the former manager, works for a small retail chain in another state. She completed extensive bias training and speaks publicly about the importance of recognizing unconscious prejudice. Her story serves as a cautionary tale about how quickly careers can be destroyed by discriminatory behavior. The $50,000 Sense annual scholarship has supported 12 students pursuing civil rights law and business ethics. Recipients intern at Vance Capital Group, learning how social justice principles integrate with successful business practices. Most importantly, no customer has reported feeling unwelcome or discriminated against at Madison's boutique since the reforms began. The anonymous feedback system processes hundreds of responses monthly, with 94% rating their experience as excellent or very good. These real-life stories prove that individual courage can transform entire systems. Elijah Vance's experience represents one of countless Black stories where discrimination was met not with resignation, but with strategic action that created lasting change. His story joins the growing collection of touching stories that demonstrate how ordinary people can create extraordinary impact when they choose accountability over anger, reform over revenge. Have you witnessed discrimination in retail or other public spaces? Your experience matters and could help create change. Share your story in the comments below. These life stories inspire others to stand up for justice. Subscribe for more real-life stories that showcase how everyday people transform unfair systems. These Black stories and touching stories remind us that one person's courage can change entire industries. Share this video if you believe every customer deserves dignity, regardless of appearance. Together, we can make discrimination economically and socially unacceptable. What would you have done in Elijah's situation? Would you have revealed your identity immediately or used the moment as a teaching opportunity? Comment below and join the conversation about creating change through strategic action rather than emotional reaction.